If you've ever been insulted and couldn't stop thinking about it, they already won. Because insult isn't about words, it's about ownership of attention. They wanted your peace. They wanted to live rent-free inside your mind, and you let them in. Most people lose battles that never happened because they fight them emotionally. But Machiavelli understood something deeper. The moment you react, you confirm their power. In this video, you'll learn what to do when people insult you, the Machiavellian way, how to turn every act of disrespect into silent dominance, how to control not just your emotions, but theirs. By the end, you'll understand why the calmest person in the room is always the most dangerous. If you're here, it means you crave control, not chaos. So subscribe, like, and share this video, because this is where emotions end and psychological power begins. Number 1, the reflex they want you to have. When someone insults you, they're not seeking truth, they're seeking reaction. Because insult is a control test, a way to measure how easily they can move you. They don't want your words, they want your composure. Watch carefully the next time someone mocks or provokes you. Their eyes won't focus on your mouth. They'll study your face, your breath, your body's micro-flinch. They're hunting for access, a weakness, a door. The moment you react, you tell them where it is. And once they know, they can pull that same string again, over and over. That's why most people lose before the battle begins. They speak too soon. They defend too quickly. They show too much. Defense is a confession. It says, you reach me. It says, you matter. Machiavelli wrote, he who reacts reveals his wound. The insult isn't meant to cut you. It's meant to make you bleed publicly. Most people crumble under attention, but the powerful, they let the silence speak. Because silence doesn't mean weakness. It means you've chosen not to participate in their chaos. You deny them oxygen. And in doing so, you make their own words suffocate them. Every second you stay unmoved, their insecurity grows. They start wondering, did I go too far? Why aren't they reacting? Why does my voice suddenly sound small? You flip the energy. You're no longer the target. You become the mirror. Because here's the secret they'll never tell you. No one insults from strength. They insult to borrow it. And the more power you project, the more they'll attempt to provoke you, just to prove to themselves that you can still be moved. Say this quietly to yourself. My reaction is my weapon. I choose when to draw it. Pause. If you understand this, if you felt that test before, comment the word control below. From now on, when they insult you, don't defend your name. Defend your energy. Because the one who keeps his energy keeps the throne. But silence, as powerful as it is, becomes unstoppable when you learn to use time itself as a weapon. Next, you'll learn how delay breaks your enemy's rhythm and turns your restraint into psychological torture. Number 2, the power of delay. Time is the weapon most people never learn to use, because the world trains you to react fast, speak fast, defend fast, decide fast. But power doesn't move fast. Power moves precisely. When someone insults you, they expect instant resistance. They're ready for your rage, your defense, your emotion. But when you delay, when you take your time, you shatter their rhythm. Delay is psychological violence, because it forces the other person to live inside the tension they created. Machiavelli understood this. He wrote that hesitation, when deliberate, makes others question themselves. It plants doubt, and doubt is poison to the insecure. Every second you wait before reacting is a mirror held to their own fear. You make them face the silence they try to drown you in. You see, time isn't neutral. Time is dominance. He who controls the pace controls perception. The slow one is always in control. When a lion hunts, it doesn't sprint the moment it sees movement. It watches, it calculates, it waits until the prey forgets it's being watched. Then, in one precise motion, it ends it. This is psychological warfare. Delay turns chaos into control. It transforms emotion into strategy. The insult that once burned now sounds childish. Because when you delay, you prove that no one owns your tempo. You decide when something matters. Never let urgency become your master. Say this silently. I control the rhythm. My silence makes others speak their fears. If you felt that, comment the word unshaken below. And here's the cruel irony. When you master delay, you begin to notice something darker. The people who try to insult you begin to insult themselves in your silence. But what happens when silence and delay aren't enough? When someone keeps pushing, trying to force reaction through persistence, that's when you use the reversal, a technique that makes them feel foolish for ever daring to speak. Next, I'll show you how to make your enemy's insult turn back on them, without saying a single cruel word. Number 3, the reversal, turning insults into ammunition. You've mastered silence. You've mastered patience. But now it's time to strike. Because true power isn't just restraint, it's redirection. It's turning their venom into your weapon. Machiavelli once said, "Never waste an enemy's mistake. When they insult you, they make one. They assume your silence means submission. But what they don't realize is that your silence was bait. You let them speak long enough to reveal themselves, their motives, their fears, their hunger for validation. And once you see it, you turn the insult. You don't fight their fire. You reflect it. When they call you arrogant, you say, "Confidence threatens only the uncertain." When they call you cold, you whisper, "Emotion is for those still seeking approval." When they say you've changed, you simply nod. That's the reversal. You turn judgment into proof of growth. You make their words reveal their weakness. Never defend your character. Let their reaction define theirs. The reversal doesn't require clever words, just presence. Because when someone insults you, they hand you their reflection. But most people panic and hand it back. You hold it steady, and as it breaks, they finally see it. It was never about you. Say this silently. I don't react. I reveal. If you feel this power, type untouchable in the comments. Because reversal isn't about revenge. It's about elegance. Making your calm feel like punishment. But there's one more level, darker, deeper. It's when you stop trying to win the exchange altogether. You make them compete with a ghost version of you. A version that doesn't even play the same game. That's the next lesson. The ghost principle, where your absence becomes their obsession. Number 4, the ghost principle. When your absence controls a room, the most dangerous power is not presence, it's absence. Because people cannot attack what isn't there. They can only imagine it. And imagination is far more terrifying than reality. When you disappear after being insulted, you leave them with silence that grows teeth. They start wondering, did I go too far? Why didn't they respond? What are they thinking now? The ghost principle turns the tables completely. Instead of chasing validation or explanation, you remove yourself and let curiosity do your work. Because absence creates narrative, and narrative is power. People can resist your presence, but they can't escape their own thoughts about you. They will replay the conversation. They will analyze your silence. They will begin to talk about you when you're not even there. And each time they speak your name, your influence multiplies. Machiavelli hinted at this through rulers who vanished before retaliation, letting their enemies destroy themselves through uncertainty. Absence creates chaos in weak minds, because control has been replaced by mystery, and mystery breeds fear. When you walk away after being provoked, you don't lose. You multiply your gravity. They start orbiting around your silence, wondering, guessing, needing closure that you will never give. Say this to yourself. My silence is not absence. It's command. Short pause. If you understand this, comment invisible power below. Because when your energy is withdrawn, it forces others to supply their own. They begin to argue with your ghost, defend themselves against your silence. That's when you know you've already won. But there's an even colder form of dominance, one that doesn't just haunt their mind. It rewires how they see you forever. That's the law of emotional inversion. When you make those who attack you feel dependent on your approval. Next, you'll learn how to make their hatred turn into fascination without saying a single word. Number 5, the law of emotional inversion. Turning hate into fascination. People don't hate what they don't feel. They hate what they can't control. And deep down, what they can't control, they secretly admire. That's the law of emotional inversion. The moment you stop feeding their conflict, their hate has nowhere to go, except back into curiosity. Hate and fascination are twins, born from the same energy. The only difference is direction. Machiavelli observed that the most feared rulers were often the most adored, not because they sought love, but because their indifference magnified it. People crave emotional reciprocity. When you refuse to return their hate, you force them to confront their own emotional hunger. They begin to question themselves. Why do I care so much about someone who doesn't even acknowledge me? Why does their calm disturb me? Why can't I stop thinking about them? That confusion becomes fascination. The more they resist you, the more their attention bends toward you. This is the paradox of power. Emotion denied becomes obsession. So when someone hates you, when they try to pull you into their emotional storm, remain still. Don't fight. Don't explain. Don't even flinch. Just let their energy collide with silence. Eventually, their hate will exhaust itself. And when it does, it turns inward, then upward, then toward you with new meaning. They'll start mimicking your tone, your posture, even your words, because the human mind cannot resist what it doesn't understand. And the one thing they can't understand is your calm. Say this quietly. Their emotion fuels my silence. If you feel this truth, comment fascination below. But the law of emotional inversion has a darker side, because the same energy that makes people fascinated can also make them dependent. When you master inversion, people begin to orbit your approval. They seek your reaction the way addicts seek oxygen. This is when power stops being external and becomes internal, because the less you chase, the more everything chases you. But if you don't learn to protect your focus, fascination turns into manipulation, and even you could be consumed. The next lesson is about that protection, the shield every powerful mind needs, emotional detachment. Number 6, the armor of detachment, becoming emotionally untouchable. In a world addicted to reaction, the one who stays still looks like a god. Detachment isn't coldness, it's clarity. When people insult you, they expect emotion, because emotion is currency. Anger, shame, justification, all of it is payment. But when you stop paying, the game ends. Detachment means your mood is no longer public property. It means you decide what enters your mind and what dies outside your silence. This is why the powerful move slowly. Their minds are not dragged by insult, flattery, or noise. They let the world scream and respond with stillness. Because every reaction is an admission of influence. He doesn't need to win the argument. His calm is the argument. You can feel that, can't you? The power that comes from refusing to dance in someone else's storm. The moment you detach, something profound happens. Their words lose gravity. Their opinions lose color. And your peace becomes weaponized. They'll call you heartless. They'll call you emotionless. But what they truly mean is, you can't be controlled anymore. Say this slowly. My calm is my crown. My peace is my weapon. Pause. If that feels like truth, comment untouchable below. Because detachment doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you feel deeply, but refuse to kneel before the feeling. This is why people who insult you can't understand you anymore. You've moved from reaction to observation. And observation is a birthplace of dominance. But detachment has one final evolution. When you no longer need to control or resist or defend, you redirect. Next, you'll learn the art of psychological redirection, how to make their attack strengthen your position every single time. Number 7, psychological redirection, turning attacks into advantage. The weak deflect energy, the strong absorb it. but the wise redirect it. Most people waste their strength defending themselves. They meet fire with fire, word for word, emotion for emotion. But true power doesn't burn, it bends. Machiavelli once wrote, "He who cannot control his enemies must learn to use them." Every insult, every accusation is raw material. To the untrained, it's chaos. To the strategist, it's energy. When someone attacks your image, don't defend it. Let them spend themselves in noise. Because silence creates imbalance, and imbalance is control. Then you redirect. They mock your calm, you make them feel their chaos. They accuse you of arrogance, you remind them, subtly, that only the insecure need constant validation. They try to expose your weakness, you expose their intent. Every insult carries more information about them than it does about you. Redirection begins when you listen for patterns instead of pain. You start to see what they fear, what they envy, what they crave. And suddenly, their attack becomes a confession. That's how you reverse psychological warfare. You make their aggression reveal their desperation. Because when they realize you're using their energy against them, they stop playing. They stop talking. They start watching. And the moment they do, you've already won. Say this quietly to yourself. Their attack is my mirror. Their energy is my weapon. Pause. If that resonates, comment alchemist below. You're not fighting anymore. You're transmuting. Redirection is not revenge. It's recycling. You've stopped reacting and started creating. And in the next lesson, you'll learn how to command emotion, not hide it. Number 8, emotional command, the aura of authority. There's a reason kings never raise their voices. They don't need to. The most powerful people in history weren't loud. They were still. Stillness distorts time. It makes everyone else adjust to your rhythm. Most people leak emotion like broken vessels. Anger, pride, fear, all pouring out at once. But when you command your emotional temperature, you command the room's climate. You don't need to intimidate. You simply radiate control. Machiavelli understood this. Perception is power. Control the tone, you control the frame. Control the pace, you control their reactions. Control your emotion, you control theirs. Imagine someone insults you in public. You don't flinch. You don't speak. You simply look at them, not with anger, but with evaluation. You make silence feel like judgment. That pause, that's your new weapon. Because emotion is contagious and control is magnetic. People gravitate to whatever energy feels safest and strongest. When you master your emotional rhythm, the world unconsciously syncs to your frequency. That's how authority is born, not through dominance but through consistency. You become the calm in chaos, the eye of every storm. And once people associate your presence with certainty, you no longer need to speak to lead. Say this to yourself, my calm is their command. Let it sink in, then comment unshakable below to anchor it in your mind. Remember, people don't obey power. They obey presence. You've stopped reacting to the world. Now the world reacts to you. And in the final lesson, you'll learn how to make silence itself your sharpest weapon. Number 9, the power of strategic silence. Every empire falls, not when its enemies speak too loudly, but when it forgets the power of silence. Words are currency. The more you spend them, the cheaper they become. The loudest man in the room is always the weakest. Silence makes people project. Their guilt, their fear, their curiosity. And when they project, they reveal themselves. This is how Machiavelli understood manipulation. He knew that silence doesn't end conversations. It creates them. In every insult, there's a moment where your response defines the power dynamic. Speak too soon and you validate them. Stay silent and you make them confront their own echo. That's the secret. Silence unsettles. It forces others to fill the void, and in their scramble to explain themselves, they hand you control. Silence is not retreat. It's a stage on which every other player exposes their weakness. Most people are terrified of quiet. They can't sit inside their own mind without noise. But when you do, when you stand still and say nothing, You become a mirror that reflects everyone else's truth. And in that reflection, you learn everything. The goal was never to win arguments. It was to control interpretation. Silence does that for you. It shapes perception without effort. That's what true control looks like. Not noise, not chaos, stillness. Say this quietly to yourself. My silence is not weakness. It's strategy. If you felt that, comment untouchable below and let the world know you've crossed over. You've learned the dark art of response, not through reaction, but through restraint. You began this journey learning how to face insults, and you ended knowing how to absorb power, not by fighting it, but by becoming it. This is the Machiavellian path. Ruthless, controlled, silent. If this journey shifted something inside you, even slightly, subscribe, like, and share this video. Not to follow, but to send.